My daughter asked me to buy a toy for her. Instead of purchasing it, I chose to make it for her. It was a wooden makeup set. The price was $55, but I made it for nothing. It was a great opportunity to use the small pieces and scrapwood I had gathered from the projects. I will work on each piece of the set individually, attempting to make them resemble the image of the toy my daughter asked. One of the simplest things to start with was the perfume. I used the disc sander to shape the body before beginning to make the neck on my mini lathe, which worked well for creating these small parts. I removed it from the lathe after creating the shape and sanding it, then used a handsaw to trim any excess material before using a disc sander to sand off the rest. For the neck location, I drilled the body. The neck was glued into place, and before it dried, I cleaned the excess glue. My daughter painted the body after I finished the perfume. She selected the color she likes, and we painted the body in pink. The second item I created was the hair comb. I marked the location of the teeth first, then used a drill press to drill the bottoms of the teeth, and finally a handsaw to cut them. She was thrilled when I told her that I would make the set for you. She came frequently to check on things and wanted to help me by cleaning the workshop and painting the pieces, which allowed us to spend quality time together. She decided to use purple, another color she really enjoys, for the comb. She has a passion for painting. Her name is Hanasa, and she wrote her first letter H after painting the comb. I made a lipstick, which was another item in the set, using a mini lathe for the shape and a handsaw to cut the base from the outer shell. I then made a hole inside the shell to serve as the base's cap, as this image shows. Then, using a dowel to make the wax, I drilled another hole inside the base, glued it, cut off any excess, shaped the wax's head with a knife, smoothed it with a sandpaper, and sanded the entire body to make it nice and ready for painting. Hanasa also went with pink for this one. On my lathe, I also created nail polish here. I turned the bottle and the cap, but somehow I lost the video. But you can still see it in the end of this video. I made a hair dryer here. I began by drawing the lines that needed to be cut for the dryer's head. After using these tapes and a ruler to create the shape, I used a jigsaw to cut it and a disc sander to finish it, giving it a nice smooth finish. I made the decision to round over all the edges after I finished shaping the head in order to improve its appearance and make it more comfortable. Then used sandpaper to remove the router's burn marks and manually sanded the entire head. Here I brought a piece for the handle, marked its location and used dowels, which are strong enough for this kind of work, for the joint. I drilled the dowel's location on the head and then used these center pointers to move the dowel's location to the handle. I then drilled the dowel's location on the handle and glued them together, wiping away any excess glue to avoid having to sand them later, which is a hassle. After shaping the handle with my spoke shave and sanding them smooth, I added two small dowels to one side of the handle to create the on and off buttons. For this one as well, Hanasa picked pink. It's for her, since my intention is to make her happy by creating the toys and involving her. I let her choose and mix any color she likes. Since scissors are another item in the set, I must make them for her. I start by drawing the shape with a small pair of scissors I have in my workshop. Then I use a Forstner bit to drill the handles for the finger positions. And finally I used my jigsaw to cut the shape. I then used my disc sander to finish the shape. To create a hole for the screw that opens and closes them, I taped both sections. After joining the two pieces with a screw and nut, I used my rotary tool to trim off any excess. Using this piece, I am creating a hair iron by first rounding the iron's face and then cutting the back, which will serve as the opening and closing mechanism. I then used my table saw to cut the piece in the middle. This is the back piece that I cut with a meter saw. I cut the middle by hand, then I used chisel to straighten them after. I used glue and screws to put it back together at the top. And I used dowels to cover the screwed holes, cutting them flat with the back and sanding them to remove the glue. I used a dowel for the mechanism and glued this piece to the base. I then used 5-minute epoxy to assemble a metal dowel, which I drilled into both pieces to connect them, and simply glued it with the piece I had glued to the top so it could open and close. To get ready to paint, I used my disc sander to sand the iron after the epoxy dried. Because she wanted this piece to resemble the one in the set, Hanasa went with grey. In order to make a mirror, I first draw the shape with a pencil. Then I use a hole saw to cut the location of the mirror. Then I groove the edge of the hole so that the mirror can sit on it. Finally, I use a jigsaw to cut the shape, and I use my disc sander to finish and clean it. To remove the rough marks left by the hole saw, I used this sanding bit on my rotary tool to smooth the inside. After that, I used super glue to put the mirror together, and Hanasa paints it purple. A small table is the last item I need to make so Hanasa can use it for the set. I asked her what shape she wanted on the top, and since she requests a heart, I used my jigsaw to cut it out. After sanding the edges with my disc sander, I used files to shape the area that the disc sander was unable to reach. Once the shape was complete, I quickly sanded the top with my orbital sander, rounded the edges with my palm router to make it more comfortable, and then used the orbital sander once more to sand off the router's burning marks. Additionally, I created these table legs of the camera. I used screws to put them together. I then finished it with a wipe-on poly, which adds protection and enriches the grayness. I applied the same finish to the pieces after finishing the table. She loves that she helped me make them, and this is the end result. We had a great time creating this set. I hope you liked the video and don't forget subscribing my channel. Thank you for staying till the end. Wow.
What's my pink? Oh, blue.
Pink.
Pink.
Very nice. You like the mirror? It's like Cinderella.
Yes, Cinderella. What cute. I love it.
Perfume. This is perfume.